Toshi Reagan. Toshi Reagan was a fearless black lesbian musician whose powerful voice fused rock, R&B, gospel, and funk with an unshakable commitment to social justice. Born into a legacy of activism, Toshi forged her own path, using music as a platform for liberation and truth. She refused to tone down her identity, facing racism, homophobia, and industry barriers head-on. As the HIV/AIDS crisis devastated marginalized communities, Toshi channeled her artistry into activism, raising awareness and supporting black women living with the virus. While she outwardly championed others, she secretly battled the disease herself, struggling with fatigue, illness, and the stigma that threatened her career. Despite declining health, she performed at benefits, marched in pride parades, and used her music to spark change. By early 2022, her condition worsened, yet she continued creating until the very end. In her final moments, surrounded by loved ones, she was said to pass peacefully, with music playing softly in the background. Toshi Reagan's legacy endures, reminding us that art, courage, and community can transcend even life's most painful battles. Gladys Bentley. Gladys Bentley was a fearless trailblazer, a black lesbian blues singer who shattered societal norms during the Harlem Renaissance. In the 1920s and 30s, she captivated audiences with her deep, powerful voice and bold stage presence, often performing in a tuxedo. At venues like Harlem's Clam House and the Ubangi Club, she sang risque, gender-bending lyrics and openly flirted with women, turning her performances into celebrations of queerness long before LGBTQ+ visibility was accepted. However, as the political and social climate shifted in the 1940s and 50s, Bentley faced increasing pressure to conform. Once a celebrated performer, she found doors closing as moral panic grew. Seeking acceptance, she tried to change, even claiming to have undergone hormone treatments to suppress her lesbian identity. But that wasn't who she truly was, and the weight of that suppression haunted her. By the late 1950s, Bentley's health declined. Officially, she passed away from pneumonia in 1960, but some speculate her symptoms resembled what would later be known as HIV/AIDS-related complications. Despite the struggles, Bentley's legacy endures, a symbol of courage, self-expression, and the power of living unapologetically. Essex Hemphill. Essex Hemphill was a groundbreaking black gay poet, essayist, and activist. His incisive voice brought urgent visibility to the experiences of black gay men in the U.S., often addressing issues of homophobia, racism, and the AIDS epidemic head-on. Through anthologies like Brother to Brother, which he completed after the death of his close friend Joseph Beam, Hemphill curated platforms that allowed marginalized perspectives to speak openly. His poetry possessed a compelling clarity that combined personal confession with sharp social critique, challenging mainstream narratives that ignored or trivialized black queer existence. Hemphill's work appeared in numerous journals and documentaries, such as Tongues Untied by Marlon Riggs, further amplifying his cultural impact. Tragically, Hemphill himself was diagnosed as HIV positive during a time when treatment options and public understanding were limited. Nevertheless, he continued to write, speak publicly, and provide support to others grappling with the disease. In 1995, at just 38 years old, he passed away due to AIDS-related complications. Hemphill's legacy endures as a testament to the power of literature and community organizing. Audre Lorde. Next, let's talk about Audre Lorde, the self-described black lesbian mother warrior poet. Even if you've never opened one of her poems before, you've probably encountered her quotes on a t-shirt, in an Instagram post, or on a protest sign. Audre's words are that powerful. She insisted that all our differences could be sources of strength rather than reasons for shame. In her writing, she ripped the cover off injustice, urging people everywhere to see that silence will never protect us. Born in 1934, Audre Lorde grew up hungry for expression. She was never one to mince words. If something seemed off, she'd say so, loudly, passionately, and with unshakable conviction. That directness might be the reason she came to be so widely quoted, but it certainly didn't spare her from backlash. She faced plenty of hate from conservative corners, from academic institutions that scoffed at the radical black lesbian feminist, and from so-called allies who found her too confrontational. She was first diagnosed with breast cancer in the 1970s and later overcame that initial wave, only to have cancer recur. But it also claims that she was burdened by an HIV-compromised immune system, compounding the struggle. Historically, she spoke openly about her battles with cancer. She wrote the cancer journals to highlight her experience. Yet Audrey remained a warrior. She traveled, gave lectures, wrote extensively, and poured her unfiltered truth into every project she touched. In the final phase of her life, the text suggests that complications from HIV allowed her recurring cancer to spread more aggressively. She passed away on November 17, 1992, in her home, surrounded by loved ones, after a life of relentless activism. She was 58. Lorraine Hansberry. Now we pivot to an extraordinarily talented mind, beloved by so many who savor American theater, Lorraine Hansberry. She's best known for penning A Raisin in the Sun, that classic play about a black family fighting for dignity amid housing discrimination in Chicago. The show made history when it debuted on Broadway in 1959, introducing mainstream audiences to the complexities of black life in a way seldom seen before. Critics raved, audiences cried and clapped. Yes, Hansberry had been married at one point, but private letters and journal entries showed that she also had deeply felt relationships with women. She struggled with how much of herself to reveal. America of the 1950s wasn't exactly throwing pride parades, and being an out lesbian would have risked her entire career. So, there she was. A trailblazer on stage and an equally brave soul behind the scenes, though her public persona was forced to remain guarded. According to the text's retelling, Lorraine's health started to unravel in the early 1960s with persistent stomach pains and overall weakness. Officially, she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, a known factor in her death. But the text speculates that her immune system had already been compromised by HIV/AIDS. As the final months of 1964 gave way to January 1965, Lorraine's condition plummeted. She could barely get out of bed. She had so many creative projects swirling in her head, some half-written, others just faint ideas. And it must have weighed on her heart that her best works might never see the light of day. On January 12, 1965, at just 34 years old, she passed away. Family and friends were left reeling. How could someone so brilliant, with so much left to say, vanish so suddenly? Marsha P. Johnson. Marsha P. Johnson was a fearless African-American transgender activist and drag performer, born in 1945 in Elizabeth, New Jersey. She became a key figure in the LGBTQ+ rights movement, particularly after her involvement in the Stonewall Uprising of 1969. Known for her radiant smile, flamboyant flower crowns, and generous spirit, Johnson co-founded the Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, STAR, with Sylvia Rivera to support homeless transgender youth. Despite facing immense challenges, including poverty, mental health struggles, and constant discrimination, she tirelessly advocated for queer and trans rights. Johnson's activism extended to the fight against HIV/AIDS, as the epidemic ravaged marginalized communities in the 1980s. While not always acknowledged in mainstream narratives, her efforts helped create vital awareness and foster support networks. She was affectionately called the Saint of Christopher Street for her kindness and dedication to helping others. Tragically, Johnson's body was found in the Hudson River in 1992, and questions remain about the circumstances of her death. Nevertheless, her legacy as a trailblazer endures. Many consider her life a symbol of hope, courage, and the power of grassroots activism. Her story continues to inspire new generations to challenge injustice and demand full equality for all. Alvin Ailey. Alvin Ailey rose to become a groundbreaking African-American dancer, choreographer, and activist. He founded the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater in 1958, a company dedicated to celebrating Black cultural expression through modern dance. Ailey's signature piece, Revelations, blends African-American spirituals, gospel, and blues into a vivid portrait of faith, resilience, and communal heritage. Known for his dynamic choreography and emotional depth, he revolutionized the dance world by foregrounding the Black experience on stage. Ailey's company welcomed a diverse array of dancers, uniting them through a shared commitment to artistry and social change. Beyond shaping global dance standards, Ailey also spoke out about racial discrimination and the importance of representation in the arts. Behind his public accomplishments, he faced personal struggles, including the stigma associated with homosexuality and health issues in an era of heightened prejudice. While officially reported as suffering from blood dyscrasia, many accounts indicate Ailey died of AIDS-related complications in 1989. His request to conceal his HIV status reflected the intense fear and shame surrounding the disease at the time. Max Robinson. Max Robinson was a pioneering television journalist who broke racial barriers by becoming the first African-American network news anchor in the United States. Beginning his career in local television, Robinson developed a reputation for sharp reporting and on-camera poise. In 1978, he joined ABC's World News Tonight as a co-anchor, bringing a rare black presence to primetime national broadcasting. Yet with success came immense scrutiny. He openly criticized systemic racism within the news industry, insisting that more black voices belonged in decision-making roles behind the scenes. Robinson also faced personal battles, including struggles with alcohol and relationships strained by a demanding career. By the mid-1980s, rumors of his ill health surfaced, but details remained sparse. Officially, he died in 1988 from complications of AIDS, a revelation that alarmed many viewers unaccustomed to openly discussing HIV in high-profile figures. Reflecting on his life underscores the multiple fronts on which Robinson had to fight: racism in media, stigma around his personal life, and the fear attached to HIV/AIDS. His courageous reporting and boundary-breaking career changed the face of television news. Even decades later, many credit him with paving the way for greater diversity in broadcast journalism. Fela Kuti. Fela Anikulapo Kuti became one of Africa's most electrifying musical pioneers. While frequently spelled Fela, he was known for his revolutionary Afrobeat sound, which blended jazz, funk, and traditional West African rhythms. Kuti used his lyrics to confront political corruption, colonial legacies, and social injustice. A fearless critic of authoritarian regimes, he faced frequent arrests and violent reprisals from the Nigerian government. His Kalakuta Republic compound functioned as a communal space for free expression, attracting activists, artists, and admirers from around the globe. Though often associated with multiple romantic relationships, conflicting accounts later emerged about Kuti's sexuality, including suggestions of same-sex experiences. In the 1990s, he was hospitalized repeatedly, and many close to him suspected HIV/AIDS, although official confirmations remained scarce. Publicly, Kuti criticized Western medicine and sometimes denied conventional treatments. Despite this, AIDS was listed as a contributing factor in his death in 1997, sparking debates about the influence of stigma and secrecy surrounding HIV in Nigerian society. Bayard Rustin. Bayard Rustin was a key strategist and organizer of the civil rights movement. Often working behind the scenes, he was the chief architect of the 1963 March on Washington, a historic event that culminated in Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech. Rustin's dedication to nonviolent activism was shaped by his Quaker upbringing and a firm belief in pacifism. Despite his immense contributions, he was frequently sidelined due to his open homosexuality, which was stigmatized at the time and weaponized by political opponents. Nevertheless, Rustin remained steadfast, counseling Dr. King on Gandhian techniques of peaceful protest and forging alliances with labor unions and religious groups. In the 1980s, long after helping lay the groundwork for critical civil rights legislation, Rustin directed his attention to international humanitarian work. While his official cause of death in 1987 was reported as complications from a perforated appendix, many commentators believe he also struggled with HIV/AIDS. Regardless, he continued advocating for marginalized communities until the end. Barbara Jordan. Barbara Jordan was born in 1936 in Houston, Texas, and grew into a formidable legal scholar, educator, and politician. In 1966, she made history as the first black woman elected to the Texas Senate, and later became the first Southern African-American woman to serve in the U.S. House of Representatives. Known for her powerful, resonant oratory, Jordan captured national attention during the Watergate hearings in 1974, passionately upholding the principles of the U.S. Constitution. Though she never publicly discussed her private life, close associates recognized her committed relationship with Nancy Earl, suggesting that Jordan identified as a lesbian. She faced a complex balance, defending civil rights while maintaining a discreet personal life in a largely conservative political climate. By the early 1990s, Jordan experienced debilitating health problems, including multiple sclerosis. Various sources also claim she contracted HIV, though official confirmations remain disputed. She died in 1996, with pneumonia listed as a contributing factor. Throughout her career, Jordan championed voting rights, ethics in government, and equality before the law. Her intellectual rigor and unwavering moral compass left an indelible mark on U.S. political discourse, reinforcing the notion that integrity and leadership can transcend entrenched societal barriers. Octavia Butler. Octavia E. Butler, born in 1947 in Pasadena, California, was a trailblazing African-American science fiction writer. As a child, she was drawn to books and began composing stories, even though the genre rarely featured protagonists who looked like her or reflected her reality. Over time, Butler's works, such as Kindred, Parable of the Sower, and Bloodchild, reimagined science fiction by centering Black women in narratives about survival, social hierarchies, and moral complexity. Her distinctive storytelling earned her the Hugo and Nebula Awards, making her one of the most celebrated authors in speculative fiction. Though she did not publicly identify as lesbian, some close to her suggest she maintained a private life that challenged conventional norms, hinting at same-sex relationships and non-traditional personal beliefs. Butler was also a lifelong sufferer of health issues, including severe migraines. According to some accounts, potential immune problems contributed to her declining well-being. She passed away in 2006, officially from a stroke. Speculation about HIV involvement remains unverified. Nevertheless, Butler's literary achievements continue to influence countless artists, authors, and activists. By insisting that people of color belong in future worlds, she expanded the imaginative possibilities of an entire genre, forever altering the landscape of science fiction. Bobby DeBarge. Bobby DeBarge, born in 1956, was an influential singer, songwriter, and producer, most famous for his falsetto lead vocals in the 1970s Motown family band Switch. The group's hits, such as There'll Never Be, showcased Bobby's incredible range, and he quickly became known for his distinct emotive style. Born into a musical family, Bobby continued to perform alongside siblings who formed the DeBarge Group, achieving mainstream recognition in R&B circles. However, behind the velvety voice and charismatic stage presence, Bobby struggled with personal turmoil, including substance abuse and legal troubles. In the 1980s, he was incarcerated for drug trafficking, and during his time in prison, his health took a downward turn. While he tried to focus on making a comeback after his release, he faced complications that reportedly involved HIV. Officially, he succumbed to AIDS-related complications in 1995, marking a tragic end to his promising musical trajectory at just 39. Reflecting on his life reveals a narrative of immense talent curtailed by societal pressures, addiction, and hidden battles with illness. His story also underscores the stigma that hindered many Black entertainers from seeking timely medical help. Bobby DeBarge's vocal contributions remain cherished by those who grew up with Switch's timeless sound. Sylvester James Jr. Sylvester James Jr., widely known simply as Sylvester, was born in 1947 in Los Angeles. He gained fame during the late 1970s as the flamboyant, charismatic Queen of Disco, dazzling clubgoers with his multi-octave vocal range and exuberant stage presence. Singles like You Make Me Feel, Mighty Real highlighted his ability to shift effortlessly from soulful depths to a soaring falsetto, reflecting the gospel roots of his childhood. Openly gay and unapologetically theatrical, Sylvester became a beacon of liberation for queer communities seeking joy and pride on the dance floor. He also used his platform to champion the struggles of those affected by HIV/AIDS, a cause that grew increasingly urgent as the epidemic escalated in the 1980s. Despite his own health declining, Sylvester continued performing and speaking out, encouraging safe sex education and advocating for better healthcare access. He passed away in 1988 from AIDS-related complications at just 41 years old, leaving fans and loved ones devastated. Yet, his legacy endures in the timeless grooves of his music, in the hearts of disco enthusiasts, and in the ongoing movement for LGBTQ+ visibility. Sylvester's life remains a testament to authenticity, courage, and sheer vocal brilliance. Willie Ninja. Willie Ninja, born in 1961 in Queens, New York, was dubbed the godfather of voguing for his influential role in shaping the dance style that emerged from Harlem's ballroom scene. With sharp, angular movements and an unmatched sense of grace, he helped popularize voguing beyond underground clubs, eventually bringing it to mainstream attention through performances and collaborations with notable pop stars. Ninja also starred in the seminal documentary Paris is Burning, introducing global audiences to the vibrant world of Black and Latinx LGBTQ+ performers. His House of Ninja became a supportive haven for young queer individuals, offering mentorship, community, and a chance to express themselves freely on the runway. While he attained recognition as a cultural icon, Willie also faced financial and health struggles. Diagnosed with HIV, he fought to maintain his artistry and to support his chosen family, despite the physical toll of the illness. On September 2, 2006, Willie Ninja passed away from complications related to AIDS. His death resonated throughout the dance and fashion worlds, prompting new attention to the resilience and creativity of ballroom culture. He remains a legendary figure, demonstrating how art can celebrate identity, inspire unity, and transcend adversity. Gil Scott-Heron. Gil Scott-Heron, born in 1949, was a poet, spoken-word artist, and musician often hailed as the godfather of rap. He merged jazz, soul, and funk with politically charged lyrics, crafting anthems like "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised," which challenged the status quo and spoke to the urgency of Black liberation. Scott-Heron's deep, resonant voice and incisive critiques of systemic injustice profoundly influenced hip-hop's rise in the late 1970s and 1980s. However, his life was marked by personal struggles, including ongoing battles with substance abuse that frequently disrupted his career. By the early 2000s, his health deteriorated further amid reports of complications relating to HIV. Despite these challenges, he experienced a creative resurgence, releasing I'm New Here in 2010, which showcased his signature blend of incisive commentary and bluesy storytelling. He died in 2011, officially due to pneumonia, though friends confirmed he had battled multiple health issues stemming from HIV. Gil Scott-Heron left behind a rich legacy of protest music and activism, significantly shaping how future artists use their voices to speak truth to power. His words still echo in movements for social change, demonstrating the transformative power of art and collective awareness. Ricky Wilson. Ricky Wilson, born in 1953, served as the charismatic lead guitarist for the iconic new wave band the B-52s. Hailing from Athens, Georgia, Wilson helped form the group in the mid-1970s, alongside his sister Cindy Wilson and fellow bandmates Kate Pearson, Fred Schneider, and Keith Strickland. Known for catchy offbeat hits like Rock Lobster and 52 Girls, the B-52s gained a devoted fan base that appreciated their unique blend of surf guitar riffs, new wave rhythms, and quirky lyrical themes. Ricky's distinctive style, often featuring unconventional tuning, was integral to the group's sound. Despite the fun, party-oriented persona projected by the band, Wilson faced private battles. He was diagnosed with HIV during a period when information about the virus was scarce and stigma ran high. Unfortunately, the disease progressed rapidly, and he died in 1985 from AIDS-related complications at age 32. His death shocked fans and fellow musicians, bringing greater attention to HIV/AIDS in rock culture. In his absence, the B-52s continued to honor his memory, with later albums like Cosmic Thing reflecting both grief and celebration. Joseph Beam. Joseph Beam was an influential African-American writer, poet, and gay rights activist. He is best remembered for his pioneering anthology, In the Life, a Black gay anthology published in 1986, which collected works from various Black gay men who often faced both racism within the broader LGBTQ+ community and homophobia within Black communities. Beam's aim was to create visibility and solidarity for Black queer experiences, providing narratives he felt were sorely missing in mainstream discourse. Through thoughtful prose and poetry, he challenged readers to confront deeply ingrained prejudices. Beyond his writing, Beam worked with the Gay Men's Health Crisis Organization and contributed to several Black LGBTQ+ publications. Tragically, he did not complete his second anthology, Brother to Brother, before his untimely death in 1988, largely attributed to HIV/AIDS-related complications. Following Beam's passing, his close friend and fellow writer Essex Hemphill took on the arduous task of finishing the project, ensuring Beam's vision did not remain unfinished. Though Beam's life ended at just 33, his groundbreaking contributions endure,